We spent last summer sailing to the Mediterranean and decided to spend the winter in Gibraltar. We're making this video for any other sailors thinking of doing the same thing, or just for anyone else who's curious about the time that we spent here.
In this video we'll cover why we chose Gibraltar, life at Queensway Quay, exploring the rock and surrounding areas, eating, drinking and social life, winter weather and bureaucracy.
As a British national, you now have only 90 days in 180 to spend in the EU, meaning that when you get down to the Straits, you can spend the winter either in Morocco or in Gibraltar. Considering that we knew some of the boats coming into Gibraltar, we decided to stay here.
If you're feeling a little homesick and crave a piece of Britain in the sunshine, this British overseas territory might appeal to you. English is widely spoken, and as British passport holders, we can stay and work without a visa or limits on our length of stay. We have access to emergency healthcare, and there are familiar shops and brands such as Morrisons, Next, and good old Marks and Spencer's. There's a large sailing community with lots of liveaboards, so it's an easy place to meet fellow cruisers. There are also tax-free perks, fuel, spirits, and cigarettes are all really cheap here. Gibraltar has 4 marinas, with a 5th being planned. Coaling Island and Middle Harbour are for small boats only, so any cruisers wanting to visit or spend the winter will need either Ocean Village in the north or Queensway Quay here in the upper town. Queensway Quay certainly looks the part. It has a very swanky vibe to it. There are millionaire mansions, you'll often see super yachts, and there's some cool restaurants and bars along the quay. Personally, I really like the landscaping. There are beautiful plants all over, palms, agave, birds of paradise. It looks and smells very pretty. Also next to the marina is the laundrette. It costs us £16 to do a huge 17 kilo load of laundry that's wash and dry. Bins are next to the shower block, and recycling is a 5-minute walk around the corner. Inside the shower block there's a community notice board and a table for upcycling where you can find clothes, technology. There was even a toilet left here. And there's a book swap, which I am a big fan of. You can always get thrillers here, so I've been very lucky, picked up some good Lee Childs and James Patterson's. Our berth for the winter worked out at £18 a night, which we thought was reasonable, but it doesn't include power or water. Both Queensway Quay and Ocean Village are subject to quite strong swell at times, which means mooring compensators like these are essential. We didn't have them when we first got here, and within 1 week our lines had almost chafed through.
So, supermarkets in Gibraltar. You've got a very large Morrisons, very good for your British staples such as bacon, spirits and the essentials. However, I'm not sure, but there seems to be some kind of supply issues, and you can't really bank upon the shelves being full every time you go and being able to get whatever you want. For example, we went one day and they had no dog food whatsoever. Plenty of cat food, but no dog food. So I'm not sure whether that was an elaborate ruse by Yewy, because that day she ate liver. And the other type of supermarkets you have are Eroski's, a Spanish supermarket, and they are good for things that come from Spain, like your tapas essentials, jamón, cervezas, and so on. There's a smaller Eroski right next to the marina, about an 8-minute walk away. There's a slightly larger one to the south end of the island, and there's our favourite, the great big Eroski, which is next to La Linea. So there are 2 main chandleries in Gibraltar. One is Jib Yachts towards the south end of the town centre, and this one is Shepherd's towards Ocean Village. Between the 2 of them, they've got most things, although I wouldn't expect the same type of choice from some of the larger chandleries that you get in the UK and in France and so on. They tend to have what they have, and again, some things are a little bit cheaper than the UK, but some other things are much more expensive than the UK as well. My advice would be, you know, if you've got kind of an idea of what you're going to be needing, spare parts wise and stuff like that, for 2, 3, 4 years once you leave the UK, is to just stock up using the internet in the UK and keep them somewhere on your boat. because not only have you've got them if you need them, but you'll find out that you'll save a lot of money when you've actually got the choice of being able to go across different online vendors and stuff like that. For example, we needed a couple of rubber bow rollers and couldn't get them anywhere in Gibraltar. Couldn't machine the spare that I had to increase the diameter hull. So I had to get two made out of acetal, and they were £180 for two. So wounding. But I couldn't get them from anywhere else, to be honest with you. Like, so I guess they had to be made, but still bloody expensive hourly rates, you know.
If you've got Schengen days to spare and you're in need of some off-the-boat time, Gibraltar's ideally located for some mini getaways. While here we got to visit Granada, Tarifa and Fuengirola. Here's how we got on in beautiful Granada. If you're looking to fly back to the UK, you can fly directly from Gibraltar or take a 2-hour bus journey from La Linea to Malaga Airport. Gibraltar has a good bus network and a one-way ticket is £1.80. We found it useful when bringing luggage back across the border or doing a big shop at the Eroski by the airport. While in Gibraltar, it would be almost criminal not to go to the Upper Rock Nature Reserve. Now at £30 per person for a single day, it was a little hard to justify going more than once. We only went for one day. And that doesn't include the cable car, which is an eye-watering £38 per person. That being said, we had a fantastic time, so here's how we got on up the rock.
Safety first. So unfortunately, we don't have our little Admiral Yewy today, little captain.
Can't be trusted.
She can't be trusted with the monkeys. Are you gonna move? It's not moving. Excuse me. Thank you. No, it just went there. On the way back down now, refreshed after some old speckled hen and some San Miguel. And yeah, we paid £25 for our tickets. It's not multi-entry like some places, like, you know, Portsmouth or Alnwick up in the northeast. If you buy a ticket, like £25 ticket, you get like a multi-year entry, like a multi-entry across a year. Here you just get the single day, and there's a lot to do, isn't there? In a day, there's a lot to see. Like, we haven't been able to see everything, but it's worth it. Like, it is worth £25. Like, the things that you can fit in, and it is a whole day, you know. It's been our best day. Oh, this has been the best day since we arrived in Gibraltar 5 months ago, you know, by far. St Michael's Cave there was just completely unbelievable.
It was amazing. It was one of those places where you just sort of like, you walk in and then you kind of just come to a halt and go, oh my god.
Yeah, like, yeah, you're not, no, you know, it's a cave. I didn't really know what to expect, but yeah, whoever designed that place needs an award of some sort, like, because that is artistic as. So yeah, it's worthwhile. Gibraltar, you know, there is a lot to see. Hang on, there's obviously some A couple of cars there, want to have a chat. So pedestrians can go and do one. Anyway, what's I talking about?
It's worth the entrance.
Oh yeah, like absolutely. Like if you come to Gibraltar for a few days, you can have a great time. Like, you know, there's so much history, and it is really, really interesting actually. But I think there's, you know, you'd have a cracking time if you just came away for like a long weekend or something, and the booze is cheap. You know, weather's fantastic. You can come and see the attractions and all that, and then you can go and have some decent scran down at sea level. What's not to like? But would you come and berth here for 6 months? More on that later. Eating out in Gibraltar is more expensive than in Spain, but it's probably cheaper than eating out in the UK. On Queensway Quay, you've got some pretty good options. You've got Rendezvous, you've got Monique's, and there are always some sailors swapping stories in the lounge, usually at happy hour between the hours of 5 and 7 at night. Our favourite was Reclamation Road, where there's a few different tapas joints. Our favourites there were Nomads and La Tapia Sextina. If you watched our first season when we sailed around the UK, you'll know that we got a bit of a penchant for fish and chips. And since we've left the UK and gone through France and Spain and Portugal, we ain't been able to get any proper fish and chips at all. There have been some fakes. They were never the real deal though, you know? Oh. But anyway, we thought that that would all change when we got to Gibraltar because it's British, right? And there are some actual dedicated fish and chip joints. They're not great. But we were given a bit of a tip that one unlikely place that was going to do some decent fish and chips was in Morrisons.
What do you have?
So we've only had fish and chips once in Gibraltar, and it was terrible. Piccadilly Garden, I think it was,
Yeah,
and it was awful.
It was fish and fries, and then the fish was like just...
We don't need to go into details.
No.
It was crap. And then, what's the name of the fish and chip place?
Roy's or
Roy's is what people go on about. I went to Roy's, I had a look at the fish and chips. It looked dire, and it was like £18 for fish and chips or something. Sod that. So here we are in Morrisons. And we have it on a decent account that the fish and chips here are not actually that bad. Certainly not bad in price. £8.50 for an ultimate fish and chip. You get mushy peas with that as well. And £3 a pint in Morrisons. Bet you could do with that in England. Well, the chips are fries, but the fish doesn't fit on the plate.
It's decent. It's not going to be in any like top 10 of sailing PM fish and chips, but good value for money. That is nice and crispy. The fish is like, it looks healthy, it looks like bright and white.
Well, it doesn't look that healthy, it's dead.
It's huge. Marked down because the chips are kind of
Frozen chips.
They're edging towards fries, aren't they?
They're frozen chips.
Yeah, but overall, good, decent, filling.
The weather in Gibraltar is really, really nice, but through the winter it does get a little bit chilly. The lowest it got down to was 11 degrees, and we had to put the boat heating on a few times, but Faye, she had to put a big coat on. For about 6 weeks on either side of the winter solstice, the sun is quite low in the sky, and certainly at the south end of the marina on Pontoon A, you'll get no direct sunlight at all, meaning your solar will not generate any energy, meaning that things are just a bit damp and take a while to dry out, and you could have mold issues as well. So a top tip would be that when you're requesting your berth at Queensway Marina, to not ask to be put onto Pontoon A, because after you arrive, they'll not move you, unless you're really persistent, like Uncle Jeff. February and March see rainy season. And certainly this season was very, very rainy indeed. It rained 50 days out of 60 and was the wettest place in Europe. It's not always like that, but it does rain. And when it does rain, it rains on biblical proportions. As we've mentioned before, Tarifa, just round the corner from Gibraltar, gets on average 300 days a year where the wind is above 30 knots. And Gibraltar gets a lot of that weather too, in the form of a pretty constant southwestern swell that finds its way across the Bay of Gibraltar and, despite all the breakwaters and so on, comes into Queensway Quay on a daily basis. It means you're wobbling about a lot. You don't really get many really quiet days where you forget that you're on a boat. And some days it can be pretty bad actually. So double your lines up and get those mooring compensators on. Gibraltar is currently not in Schengen, which means that it's a good place to reset your 90 days in 180 regarding the EU. It's also a good place to reset the VAT status on your boat, the 18-month VAT status, if you need to do that. If you're British, you can stay for as long as you like, and you can work.
If you're bringing your dog with you, your pooch is going to need a pet passport or animal health certificate, a microchip and a rabies vaccination. That being said, Gibraltar is not a particularly dog-friendly place, and I'll cover that in more detail in another video. To sum up, here are our 5 personal pros and cons of our winter in Gibraltar, starting with the pros. We thought the Marina rates were very affordable for the winter. There was a great liveaboard community and we made friendships we think will last a lifetime. Brits can stay and work with no visa. It's outside the EU, which means it's great for resetting your Schengen and VAT days. And the fuel is cheap. Now for the cons. Personally, we found Gibraltar very busy and a little bit claustrophobic. It's not dog friendly. The wind and swell can make things a bit bumpy. Deliveries, post, supplies can be difficult. And despite tax-free status, some things cost a lot more than being in the UK or Spain. So we've been here for 6 months. What are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are that Gibraltar for 6 months is quite a long time. It's made a lot better by the friends that you'll make who are also overwintering on their boats in Gibraltar as well. That sense of community is vital. It really is. But if I was going to do it again, I would do it slightly differently. And if you're going to be coming from the UK, I would highly recommend that you get a French 6-month tourist visa, starting, say, for example, around May, which is what we did. That would allow you to stay and sail in the UK for 6 months. So it would take you to about November. And then at the end of that expiration of that visa, you get your 90 days in 180 as well, which would take you from November to February. I would then come to Gibraltar for 3 months to reset my 90 days in 180 to about May, and then I would continue on the merry way. And that way you can spend 3 months in Gibraltar rather than 6 would be what I would do again.
Well, sailors, if you found this video useful, please buy us a coffee, link in the description. In the meantime, like, comment, share and subscribe. And as always, my nautical friends, fair winds.